Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive all about Goldie. You guys sent in a pretty interesting stack of sources for this one, including some excerpts from that Gold Wikipedia page, so get ready because we're going to go way beyond just, the glitter and glamour.
Yeah.
And really get into like gold's surprising origins and properties, even some of the crazy uses throughout history. I mean, we're talking gold from space, gold in our oceans, gold that's actually red. Like,
Yeah.
I know, right? Okay, so first off, let's talk about just how unusual this metal is. Just a single gram of gold can be hammered out into a sheet, like a full square meter. That's wild. Can you imagine trying to do that with like steel or something?
Yeah, you wouldn't get very far.
Yeah.
Gold is really unique. It's got this extreme malleability, which is one of the things that makes it so special.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's an amazing conductor of electricity.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Like if you think about all those tiny connectors in your phone or your laptop,
Right.
they have to be super reliable and they can't corrode. So that's where gold really shines.
So it's not just pretty, it's also super useful. But, okay, so we've established that gold is special. But where does it even come from in the first place? I was looking through the research that you sent over. And it mentioned something about asteroids.
Yeah, so basically when the Earth first formed, it was molten. And all the heavy elements like gold sank down to the core. We'd never be able to get to it down there.
Yeah.
But then billions of years ago, these asteroids smashed into the Earth. And they were packed with gold.
Wow.
So they basically seeded the planet with the gold that we mine today.
Hold on, wait. How did those asteroids get all that gold in the first place?
That's where things get really interesting. See, the gold in those asteroids was actually created inside dying stars, like during supernovas, or these even more intense events, like when neutron stars collide.
So we're talking about like unimaginable forces, creating the element that we now value so highly. So the
Right.
gold we wear could literally be stardust from a supernova. That's insane. It really makes you think about how something created in such an extreme environment ended up like a symbol of wealth and beauty here on Earth.
It does make you think.
Speaking of history, gold has been around for a long, long time, like the ancient Egyptians.
Oh, yeah.
They were obsessed with gold. There's even this quote where one of their kings said that gold was more plentiful than dirt.
Wow.
Maybe not for everybody, but you get the point.
Yeah.
I mean, they used it for everything. And then there are all those legends about El Dorado, the mythical city of gold.
Right.
But El Dorado itself might just be a story. The legend is actually based on real history.
Yeah.
Like the Muisca people of Colombia, they actually had this ritual where they would cover their chieftain in gold dust. And then he'd jump into this sacred lake as an offering.
Wow.
And when the Spanish conquistadors saw this,
Oh, yeah.
that's what really fueled the El Dorado legend, and that drove them to search for gold all across the Americas.
So gold fever is nothing new.
Nope. It's been around for centuries. It's amazing how this one element has been like this major driving force throughout history.
Yeah.
Shaping empires and economies and even wars.
Exactly. The desire for gold has led to exploration and innovation, but unfortunately also conflict.
Right.
But there's so much more to gold than just its history or what it's worth.
Wait, there's more. I thought we were just getting to the good part.
But we've only scratched the surface. Remember how we talked about gold's unique properties?
Yeah.
Well, they make it useful for things you might never expect.
Okay, you've got my attention. What else can gold do?
Well, for starters, did you know that gold is edible? It even has an E number.
Wait, seriously? You're telling me I can eat gold?
You could, but it wouldn't be very satisfying. Gold is chemically inert, which means it doesn't react with anything in your body. It just passes right through you, like those fancy desserts with the gold leaf on top. It's more for show than taste.
So it's like a look what I can afford to eat and then poop out kind of thing.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But that same inertness, it's what makes gold so valuable in other areas.
Like what?
Well, because it doesn't corrode. It's perfect for electronics.
Yeah.
And even spacecraft. You can send it into the harsh environment of space, and it comes back just as shiny as when it left. And here's something you probably wouldn't guess. Gold even has medicinal uses.
Really?
Yeah, gold compounds have been used to treat rheumatoid arthritis for decades.
Wow, I had no idea. So gold is this amazing multitasker. It's beautiful, it's conductive, it came from space, you can eat it, and it can even fight arthritis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're just getting started.
Okay, I am definitely intrigued. Can't wait to hear more.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we've talked about where gold comes from, like it's basically stardust, which is incredible. And we touched on some of gold's amazing properties, But you mentioned earlier that gold is chemically inert. What does that actually mean? And why is it such a big deal?
So when we say gold is inert, it basically means it's like that one friend who's just totally happy hanging out by themselves. Gold doesn't react easily with other elements. You can expose it to air, water, most acids, and it just kind of shrugs it off. Stays as shiny as ever.
So why is gold such a loner in the chemical world?
It all boils down to those little particles called electrons. You know, every atom has electrons orbiting around its nucleus. And gold just happens to have a full outer shell of electrons. It's very stable. It doesn't need to bond with other elements to feel complete.
So gold's basically achieved chemical nirvana?
Exactly. It's content with its electron situation. And that's what makes it so resistant to corrosion, like iron rusts and silver tarnishes over time. But gold stays pristine.
That explains why we find ancient gold artifacts that still look brand new. But wait, I remember reading in those Wikipedia excerpts that gold can actually dissolve in something called aqua regia. What's that all about?
Aqua regia is like this super strong mixture of acids that can actually break through gold's defenses.
Okay, but why would you even want to dissolve gold in the first place? Isn't that kind of like throwing money away?
It might seem counterintuitive, but dissolving gold is actually important for refining and purifying it. Like imagine you have a chunk of gold ore, but it's all mixed in with other stuff. Dissolving the gold allows us to separate it out so we can get pure, high-quality gold.
Oh, I see. So it's not about destroying the gold. It's about, like, transforming it into something even more valuable.
Exactly. And once you have pure gold, you can use it for all sorts of things, like making coins and jewelry, or even creating those tiny gold components in electronics.
So dissolving gold isn't destruction. It's more like refinement, like taking a rough diamond and cutting it into this brilliant gem.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And it's this versatility that makes gold so fascinating. It can be both inert and reactive, depending on the situation.
This reminds me of something we talked about before, like using gold in medicine. Is dissolving gold somehow connected to its medicinal uses?
It is. By dissolving gold and making gold compounds, we can actually use its unique properties for medical purposes. For example, gold salts have been used to treat rheumatoid arthritis for a long time.
Huh. That's kind of strange. Like you're injecting actual gold into your body. Is that safe?
Well, it's not pure gold. It's gold compounds that have anti-inflammatory properties.
Yeah.
And just like any medication, there can be side effects. So it's always important to talk to your doctor.
Right.
But it's pretty amazing how this precious metal that we associate with wealth and beauty can also be used to help people who are suffering.
It really shows how versatile gold is. But something's been on my mind. We've talked about all these amazing things about gold, but are there any downsides? I remember that Wikipedia article mentioned something about environmental concerns related to gold mining.
Yeah, that's a really important point. As with any type of mining, there are environmental impacts associated with getting gold out of the ground. One of the big concerns is the use of cyanide in the extraction process.
Cyanide. Isn't that super dangerous?
It is. Cyanide solutions are used to dissolve the gold from the ore, but if those solutions aren't managed properly, they can leak into the environment. And that's a serious risk to both wildlife and people.
That's scary. Are there any alternatives to using cyanide?
Scientists are definitely working on that. They're researching and developing more eco-friendly ways to get gold. Some promising alternatives include using less toxic chemicals, or even bioleaching, which uses bacteria to extract the gold.
So there's hope for a greener gold industry.
Absolutely. And consumers can do their part too, by choosing recycled gold, or supporting companies that are committed to responsible mining practices.
That makes sense. It'd be amazing if we could enjoy all the benefits of gold without harming the planet in the process.
It would. But getting back to the uses of gold, let's talk about something a little more high-tech. Remember those gold compounds we mentioned earlier?
Yeah.
Well, they're being used in some pretty cutting-edge applications.
Oh, like what?
Well, for example, gold nanoparticles are being explored for use in cancer treatment. And gold is playing a key role in the development of new and improved solar cells.
Wow, that's incredible. So gold isn't just ancient. It's actually helping shape the future.
Exactly. And there's still so much more to discover. Researchers are constantly finding new and innovative ways to use gold. I think we're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
It's wild to think that something as simple as gold can have such a huge impact on our lives, both now and in the future.
It is, isn't it? And speaking of gold's impact, there's another aspect we haven't even touched on yet. Its cultural significance.
You mean like beyond its use as currency and jewelry?
Yeah, exactly. Throughout history, gold has been woven into our myths and religions and art. It represents power and purity, even immortality in some cultures.
Wow, that adds a whole other layer of complexity. I'm starting to realize this deep dive is just the beginning of a much bigger exploration.
It is. That's what makes learning about gold so fascinating. It takes you on this journey through history, science, culture, even philosophy.
You've definitely inspired me to keep digging deeper. What else should we explore about this amazing element?
Let's dive into the world of gold alloys. Mixing gold with other metals can completely change its properties, leading to some pretty surprising and useful applications.
Okay, I'm all ears. Let's unlock some more of gold's secrets. All right, so let's talk about these gold alloys. Mixing gold with other metals, it seems like we've covered so much already about gold itself, from, its origins in these crazy supernova explosions to its uses in medicine and like super high-tech stuff. What makes mixing it with other metals so special?
Well, it's kind of like having this toolbox full of different metals.
Yeah.
Each one has its own strengths and weaknesses. But when you combine gold with other metals, you can basically create these custom-made materials with specific properties for whatever you need. It's like coming up with a special recipe, carefully choosing the right ingredients to get that perfect outcome.
So it's not just about like watering down the gold to make it cheaper.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes adding in another metal can actually make some of gold's properties even better. For instance, pure gold is actually really soft. You could scratch it with your fingernail.
Oh, wow, seriously.
Yeah, it's true. But if you add in metals like copper or silver, you can make gold much harder and more durable. That's why most jewelry isn't made from pure gold. It's actually an alloy.
Oh, that's interesting. So those different carat values you see in jewelry stores, like 14 karat or 18 karat, that's basically telling you how much pure gold is actually in that piece.
Exactly. The higher the carat number, the more gold it has. But here's something else that's pretty cool. Sometimes adding another metal can also change gold's color.
Wait, what? Gold can be different colors. I always thought it was just gold colored.
Think of it like adding a splash of color to a painting. By mixing in certain metals, you can create all sorts of beautiful shades of gold, like white gold, rose gold, even green gold.
Wow, I had no idea.
And those different colors aren't just for looks. They can actually serve different purposes, like white gold, for instance, which is often made with palladium or nickel. It's incredibly strong and resistant to tarnishing. So it's often used for things like watch cases or other items that need to be really durable.
So gold alloys are both beautiful and functional.
Exactly. It's like the best of both worlds. And there are so many possibilities. Scientists and engineers are always experimenting with new combinations of metals to create gold alloys with even more specialized properties. It's a field that's always pushing the limits.
This whole deep dive has honestly been mind-blowing. I feel like I've learned more about gold in the past hour than I ever have before.
Well, I'm glad you've enjoyed it. It's amazing how something as seemingly simple as a metal can have such a long and complicated history.
It really is. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's like the one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember about gold?
I think the biggest thing to remember is this. Gold is way more than just a shiny metal. It's a story that goes back billions of years, from the very hearts of dying stars to the most advanced technology we have today. It's a symbol of wealth and a source of beauty, a catalyst for innovation, and a true testament to human ingenuity.
I love that. I think we can all agree that gold is something truly special and that it deserves our respect, our curiosity, and maybe even a little bit of awe.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to say goodbye to the amazing world of gold, at least for now. But remember this. The journey of discovery never really ends. So keep asking questions, keep seeking out knowledge, and keep your minds open to the endless possibilities that are out there.
Until next time. Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep into the world of cognitive behavioral therapy today.
CBT.
Exactly. We've got some really interesting stuff to unpack.
Yeah.
We've got the Wikipedia article on CBT, which is a great overview, but also, there are so many applications for CBT.
That's right.
And we're going to explore some of those today and in the coming weeks, as well as...
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. It's fascinating. We're going to look at how it evolved,
Okay.
talk about some surprising applications,
Yeah.
and even touch on some limitations, because nothing's perfect.
Right.
But yeah, so let's kick things off with just a basic understanding of what CBT is all about.
Well, CBT really is kind of having a moment.
Yeah.
You know, it's like people are finally realizing that this is more than just talk therapy. This is about equipping yourself with a toolkit to actually change your thought patterns, behaviors.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Like you're rewiring your brain.
You got it.
Right. Not just feeling better in the moment, but really kind of creating lasting change.
Exactly.
So for this deep dive, we're going to be looking at how CBT evolved.
Okay.
We're going to be exploring those surprising applications, like you said, and even touching on some of its limitations.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So let's start with the basics.
Okay.
What is CBT? How did it even come about?
Well, you know, it's interesting. It's actually a blending of two schools of thought.
Okay.
We have behaviorism, which focuses on observable actions, and then cognitive therapy, which dives into the way we think.
Oh, so it's kind of like a two-pronged approach
Absolutely.
to tackling negativity.
That's a great way to put it.
I like that. So where did this all begin?
You know, it's fascinating. It's got roots in ancient philosophy,
Really?
particularly Stoicism.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so we're going way back.
We're going way back. Both of them emphasize the power of logic to challenge unhelpful beliefs.
Wow, so the Stoics were basically doing early CBT thousands of years ago.
In a way, yes.
That's wild.
Yeah, if you think about like the Stoic idea of focusing on what you can control.
Right.
CBT takes that a step further and shows you that you can control your reactions to your thoughts,
Okay.
even if you can't control the thoughts themselves.
That's really empowering.
Isn't it?
It's not about suppressing those negative thoughts.
Right.
It's about choosing how you respond to them.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And that's where those pioneers of psychology come in, you know,
Okay.
John B. Watson with his focus on behavior, and Aaron Beck, who really brought cognitive therapy into the mainstream.
So Watson's like, let's change what we do. And Beck is like, let's change how we think.
Bingo.
And their work basically paved the way for modern-day CBT.
You got it.
That's awesome. Okay, so knowing this background, it's amazing to see how CBT has evolved to address like this huge range of challenges
It really has.
that people face today.
It has, yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like I was going through our notes and like I was shocked by how many different conditions CBT is used for. Let's start with like the big ones.
Okay.
Depression and anxiety disorders.
Sure. You know, those are the most common reasons why people seek therapy. And CBT is often the go-to treatment.
Yeah, and you know, we throw those terms around a lot.
Yeah.
Depression, anxiety.
We do.
But the impact can be really debilitating,
Oh, absolutely.
you know, on couples' lives.
Yeah,
So CBT really offers like these practical strategies
it does.
to cope with the symptoms and also to build long-term resilience.
Yeah.
So let's break it down a little bit.
Okay.
How does CBT actually work for those conditions?
Okay. Well, let's take depression as an example.
Okay.
Remember Beck and his work on automatic thoughts.
Yeah.
Those are the negative judgments that pop into your head, like,
Okay.
I'm a failure, or nothing good ever happens to me.
Ugh. I know those thoughts
Don't we all?
too well, yeah. And they could really drag you down. And they can make it hard to see the positive, or even to believe that things can get better.
Yeah, and CBT helps you become aware of those thoughts and then challenge their validity.
Okay.
It's like putting them on trial, you know?
Yeah.
Examining the evidence for and against them.
So it's not about ignoring them or
Right.
pretending they don't exist.
No, it's about facing them head on,
Okay.
but dissecting them. Are they really true?
Yeah,
Do they hold up under scrutiny?
I like that. So we're going to put those negative thoughts on trial
We are.
and see if they actually have any merit.
Exactly. And often when you do that, you realize those thoughts are based on distortions, assumptions, not facts.
Right. So they might feel real,
Yeah.
but they might not actually be based in reality.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Okay, so how about anxiety then? How does CBT tackle that?
Oh, anxiety.
It's a big one.
It is a big one.
Yeah, a lot of people struggle with anxiety.
You know, often CBT for anxiety involves exposure therapy.
Okay, tell me more about that.
All right, so imagine someone who's terrified of public speaking.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
So with exposure therapy,
Right.
you wouldn't just immediately throw them onto a stage in front of hundreds of people.
Right.
Instead, you would gradually expose them to situations that trigger their anxiety,
Okay,
starting with something small,
got it.
like maybe speaking up in a meeting.
Okay, so baby steps towards facing your fears.
That's the idea.
I like that.
Yeah, and as they successfully handle those smaller challenges,
Mm.
their confidence grows.
Yeah.
And that fear starts to lose its power.
So you're kind of training your brain
You are.
to realize that those feared situations aren't as dangerous as your mind is making them out to be.
You got it. That's a great way to put it.
I like that. All right, so we talked about depression, anxiety, but CBT doesn't stop there, right?
Oh, no, 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 no.
It's incredibly helpful for people with post-traumatic stress disorder,
Yes.
PTSD.
Yes.
Now, that one seems particularly complex.
It is.
How can CBT possibly help someone process something as traumatic as PTSD?
You know, it's not about erasing the trauma. It's about developing healthier ways to cope with the memories and the triggers.
Right.
And there are specific types of CBT, like trauma-focused CBT, that are designed to help individuals understand and manage their reactions to trauma.
So it's about providing tools
Yes.
to regain a sense of control
Absolutely.
after experiencing something so overwhelming.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it's fascinating to see how CBT is also being used for conditions like bipolar disorder.
Yeah, that one's all about those extreme mood swings, right?
Right.
So how does that even work?
Well, CBT can be incorporated into treatment plans
Okay.
alongside medication to help manage those shifts.
Mm.
It equips people with strategies
Okay.
to identify triggers, cope with intense emotions,
Right.
and regulate their moods more effectively.
It's amazing how adaptable CBT seems to be.
Isn't it?
It's like a Swiss Army knife
I like that.
for mental health.
Yes.
You know, there's a tool for everything.
Absolutely. And its applications continue to expand.
Yeah.
You know, we're seeing it used for psychosis.
Wow.
Even schizophrenia, conditions where people might struggle to distinguish reality from their own thoughts.
That must be incredibly challenging.
It is.
So how can CBT help in those situations?
Well, it's all about providing coping mechanisms.
Okay.
So imagine someone struggling with hallucinations. CBT can help them develop strategies to recognize those hallucinations for what they are, products of their mind,
Got it.
and develop coping skills to manage the distress those hallucinations might cause.
So it's not about eliminating those experiences entirely,
Right.
but about giving people the tools
Yes.
to navigate them more effectively.
Exactly.
That's really interesting.
And you know what's fascinating?
What?
CBT is even being explored for addiction.
Oh, wow. Now that one seems counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it?
Because isn't addiction more about physical dependence?
It's certainly complex.
Yeah.
But there's a huge psychological component. Think about the cravings, the triggers, the behavior surrounding the addiction.
Okay. Yeah, I'm starting to see how CBT could come into play.
Exactly. CBT helps people identify those triggers,
Right.
develop coping mechanisms, and break free from that cycle of addictive behaviors.
So it's like you're rewiring those reward pathways in the brain to respond to healthier activities.
Healthier choices.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Okay, and this brings us to another area where CBT has shown promise, eating disorders.
Yes, you know, that's all about distorted body image
Yeah.
and unhealthy relationships with food.
Exactly.
And CBT helps individuals challenge those distorted perceptions,
Okay.
manage anxiety around food, and develop more balanced eating habits.
So you're kind of relearning how to think about food and your body.
Okay, I like that. And I'm really glad that we're seeing this growing recognition
Yeah.
of CBT as a valuable tool for supporting autistic adults.
Me too.
Because it's about time we recognize like the unique mental health needs
Absolutely.
of that population.
Yes.
You know?
And CBT can be tailored to address specific challenges autistic adults might face,
Yeah.
like managing sensory overload, social anxiety,
Right.
or even obsessive-compulsive tendencies.
It's about creating a more inclusive and understanding therapeutic environment.
Absolutely.
Okay, I like that. And
And this brings us to an area that's just starting to be explored.
okay.
CBT for dementia and mild cognitive impairment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're telling me CBT can help people with cognitive decline.
The research is still early.
Yeah.
But it suggests that CBT might offer strategies to enhance coping skills, reduce distress, and improve overall quality of life for individuals with dementia.
It's like you're giving people tools to maintain their mental well-being,
Yeah.
even as they face these cognitive challenges.
Yeah. That's a powerful way to put it.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
It's really incredible. And you know what?
Right.
We haven't even touched on like the specific techniques
I know, right?
that make CBT so effective.
There's so much more to dive into.
Well, hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to unlock that CBT toolbox and explore those core techniques.
Get ready.
But first, let's take a quick break,
Sounds good.
and we'll be right back.
All right. Okay, so ready to unlock that CBT toolbox?
I'm really curious to hear more about these core techniques.
All right, so let's start with one of the most powerful ones, cognitive restructuring.
Okay, yeah, you mentioned that earlier, and I'm still a little bit fuzzy on what that actually involves.
Sure, so it's about recognizing and challenging those automatic negative thoughts that we talked about earlier.
Okay.
So imagine you're stressed about a work deadline.
Yeah.
A negative thought might pop up like, I'm going to fail and lose my job.
Oh, yeah, classic anxiety spiral.
Right.
Yeah.
So cognitive restructuring helps you pause and examine that thought. Is it really true? What's the evidence?
Yeah.
You might realize you've met deadlines before.
Yeah.
And even if you need an extension,
Right.
it's unlikely you'll be fired immediately.
Okay, so it's not about denying that you're stressed.
No.
It's about kind of putting that thought on trial
Exactly.
and seeing if it's actually rational.
Precisely. You're replacing that catastrophic thought with a more balanced perspective.
Okay.
Maybe it's, I'm feeling overwhelmed, but I've handled tough deadlines before.
Right.
I can break this project down into manageable steps.
I can see how that shift in thinking could make a huge difference in how you approach the situation.
Right.
Yeah, instead of panicking, you're problem solving.
That's a perfect segue to another key technique,
Okay.
behavioral activation.
Ooh, tell me about that.
So, you know that feeling when you're down and even getting out of bed feels impossible?
Yeah, I've been there.
We've all been there.
It's like you're stuck in quicksand.
It is. It is. So behavioral activation is about gently nudging yourself out of that inertia.
Oh.
Instead of waiting for motivation to strike,
Yeah.
you start with small, achievable actions.
Okay.
Maybe it's taking a shower, going for a walk around the block, or even just making your bed.
So it's like tricking your brain into feeling more capable by proving to yourself that you can do things.
Yes.
Even small things.
Yes. And as you complete those small actions, you start to build momentum.
Yeah.
It's like jump-starting a car battery.
Oh, I like that.
A little spark can get that whole engine running again.
I love that analogy.
Right.
So it's not about suddenly becoming a productivity machine. It's about those tiny wins
Yes.
that build up over time.
Exactly. And as you become more active, you naturally start engaging with the world more.
Yeah.
Which can lead to more positive experiences and interactions.
It's like breaking free from that negative feedback loop.
It is.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. So we talked about tackling those negative thoughts with cognitive restructuring.
Yes.
We talked about overcoming that inertia with behavioral activation.
Uh-huh.
But what about when anxiety is the main issue?
Okay, yeah. We talked about exposure therapy earlier.
We did.
But are there other tools for managing those really intense feelings of anxiety?
Absolutely. CBT often incorporates relaxation techniques, like deep breathing exercises or progressive muscle relaxation.
You know, those always sound so simple.
They do.
But I know from experience that they can be really effective.
Oh, absolutely.
When you're like in the midst of a panic attack or you're feeling really anxious.
Yeah, it's about giving your nervous system a break.
Yep.
When you're anxious, your body goes into that fight or flight mode.
Right.
And deep breathing helps slow your heart rate, relax your muscles,
Okay.
and shift your focus away from those anxious thoughts.
So it's like hitting the pause button on that internal alarm system.
Exactly. And once you've calmed your body down, you can start to address those anxious thoughts.
Okay.
Using techniques like cognitive restructuring.
So it's a 1-2 punch, calm the body,
Yes.
then challenge the thoughts.
That's it.
I like it.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm also curious about that problem-solving aspect of CBT that you mentioned.
Yes.
What does that actually look like in practice?
So think of it as a step-by-step approach to tackling challenges.
Right.
Instead of feeling overwhelmed by a big problem, CBT teaches you to break it down into smaller, more manageable steps.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. It's like that saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Exactly.
So you create a plan,
Okay.
you prioritize those steps, and then you start taking action.
So it's about taking control
Yes.
instead of letting the problem control you.
Exactly.
I'm really appreciating how CBT combines these like practical techniques with those deeper insights into how our minds work.
It really does.
Yeah, it's not just about like doing things. It's about understanding why you're doing them.
Yeah.
And how your thoughts are impacting your behaviors.
That's one of its strengths.
Yeah. And what's also really exciting
Yes.
is that CBT is becoming increasingly accessible.
It is. It is.
You don't necessarily need to see a therapist in person
Right.
to benefit from its principles.
Exactly.
And that's such good news, especially for people who might have limited access to mental health services.
Yes.
Or who prefer exploring options on their own first.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about those options.
Okay.
Because there's this wealth of self-help materials available now.
There is.
Books, workbooks, even online resources that can guide you through CBT techniques.
Absolutely.
So someone could kind of dip their toes into CBT before committing to therapy or even use those resources alongside therapy.
Exactly.
And then, of course, we're also seeing this rise in computerized CBT or CCBT.
CCBT.
These are online programs or apps
Yeah.
that deliver those CBT principles and exercises.
I've
seen ads for those. Are they really effective, though?
That's a great question. And, studies have shown that CCBT can be just as effective as traditional therapy.
Wow, really?
For certain conditions, particularly mild to moderate depression and anxiety.
It's amazing.
It is. It makes therapy much more accessible and affordable.
Yeah.
And it also removes some of the barriers that might prevent people from seeking help, like stigma or logistical challenges.
Right. So it really opens up those possibilities.
It does.
For people to engage in therapy.
It does.
Okay. And let's not forget about the power of group therapy.
Oh, yes. Group therapy is amazing.
Right. There's something so powerful about connecting with others
Absolutely.
who are going through similar challenges.
It creates a sense of community, shared understanding. You realize you're not alone in your struggles.
Yeah.
And you can learn from each other's experiences.
It's like a support group with a therapeutic framework.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. And then if someone's looking for a more condensed approach, there's also brief cognitive behavioral therapy. Or BCBT.
BCBT, that's right.
So what's brief about it?
So it's a shorter-term format, usually 12 sessions or less.
Okay.
Focused on specific goals or challenges.
So it's like a targeted intervention.
That's a great way to put it.
For a particular issue.
Yeah, exactly. And all of these options really highlight the adaptability of CBT to different needs and contexts.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. From cognitive restructuring and behavioral activation to relaxation techniques and problem-solving skills.
Yes.
We even touched on all the different ways that people can access CBT.
We did.
But before we wrap up, I think it's important to acknowledge that CBT, like any therapy, has its limitations.
It does.
It's not a magic bullet.
It's not a magic bullet. That's an important point.
Yeah, CBT isn't a quick fix or a guaranteed solution for everyone.
Absolutely not.
And there have been some criticisms and considerations raised regarding its effectiveness.
There have.
And I think that's important to talk about, too.
It is. It is.
So, we were just talking about some of those criticisms and considerations.
Right.
What are some of the things that people should be aware of?
Well, some studies have shown a decline in the effectiveness of CBT over time.
Okay.
Particularly for certain conditions.
Interesting. Why do you think that is?
There are a number of potential explanations. It could be related to therapist training, the fidelity to treatment manuals, or even the changing nature of mental health challenges themselves.
Yeah, the world is constantly evolving.
It is.
And so our understanding and approaches to mental health.
Absolutely. And that's why ongoing research and innovation are so crucial.
So it might need to adapt to keep up with the times.
Exactly.
So if someone is thinking about trying CBT, what are some things that they should consider?
It's crucial to find a qualified therapist who is a good fit for you, someone you feel comfortable with, and who can tailor the therapy to your individual needs and goals.
So that therapeutic alliance is really important.
It's essential.
And it's also important to remember that CBT might not be the right approach for everyone.
That's true. There are many different types of therapy.
Right.
And it's essential to explore what might be most effective for your specific circumstances.
So if someone's listening to this and thinking, CBT sounds intriguing, but where do I even begin?
Right.
What would you suggest as a first step?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, there are tons of self-help books and online resources available.
Yeah.
You can also search for qualified CBT therapists in your area.
And what about those online programs and apps?
Those can be a great option, too.
Yeah.
Especially for folks who prefer the convenience and flexibility of digital therapy.
It's amazing how technology is making mental health care more accessible.
It really is a game changer.
It is, but as with any healthcare decision,
right,
it's always wise to consult with a medical professional to determine the best course of action.
Always a good idea.
All right, so we've talked a lot about CBT.
We have.
What does it all mean? Why should our listeners care?
Well, I think the key takeaway here is that CBT offers a powerful and practical framework for understanding and addressing mental health challenges.
It's about empowering yourself to make those positive changes.
Exactly. And whether you choose to explore CBT through self-help, online programs, or with a therapist, it's a journey worth considering.
This has been such an insightful deep dive.
It has.
I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective.
You too.
On how our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are all interconnected.
You really are.
And thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listener, we hope this deep dive has empowered you to explore CBT and discover whether it could be a helpful tool on your own journey toward mental well-being. We'll see you next time for another deep dive. All right, so today we're going deep on Thanos.
Thanos.
Yeah, the big purple guy.
The Mad Titan.
Right. Snapped away half the universe.
Heavy stuff.
We're using his Wikipedia page as our source today. And there's a lot more to this guy than you might think.
Definitely. What I think is really interesting about Thanos is that he's not just your typical, power-hungry bad guy.
Yeah.
He actually thinks he's doing good.
He believes in what he's doing.
Yeah, he's got this whole...
Saving the universe.
Yeah, saving the universe.
Not destroying it.
Right.
Which is, I think, what makes him so interesting.
Right.
But to really get him, we got to go back to the beginning, right?
Yeah, his origin story, Thanos was born on Titan. Him and Saturn.
Okay.
And he saw his home planet dealing with overpopulation and dwindling resources. And so he comes up with this radical solution.
Oh, boy.
Eliminate half the population randomly.
Oh, wow.
Give the survivors a fighting chance.
That's a tough sell.
It's a tough sell. I mean, can you imagine at the town hall meeting?
Yeah.
But
that's going to go over well.
No. And of course, they reject his idea.
Yeah.
And Thanos is completely ostracized.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Titan eventually falls to the fate that he predicted.
So he was right.
He was right.
Wow.
Which basically just reinforces his belief that he's destined to do this, right?
He's the chosen one.
To balance the universe.
Balance the universe. Yeah.
He's got to be the one to do it.
Wow. So that's the foundation of his whole
philosophy.
Yeah, his messed up logic.
Messed up, but,
Right, but
he believes it.
He does, yeah. But how does he go from concerned citizen to
that's right.
intergalactic warlord?
Well, that's where the Infinity Stones come in, right?
Infinity Stones, yeah.
These incredibly powerful cosmic gems. Yeah. Each one controls a different aspect of existence, like space, time, reality, power, mind, and soul. It's a lot. And Thanos thinks that if he gets all 6 into this gauntlet, the Infinity Gauntlet,
right,
then he can achieve his goal.
It's just a snap.
A snap of his fingers.
The snap.
Yeah, that's what everybody remembers.
Right, but he didn't just show up in Infinity War.
Oh, no.
With all this power.
No, he's been working on this for years.
Yeah.
He was behind the scenes, pulling strings.
What? Give me some examples.
Well, he manipulated Loki in the Avengers, remember?
Okay, yeah.
With the Chitauri army trying to get the Tesseract.
Which had the Space Stone in it?
Yes. Exactly.
Oh,
and then he sends Ronan the Accuser after the Power Stone.
Oh, in Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yes. So every step was calculated, right?
Wow.
Part of this master plan.
So he's not just a brute.
No.
He's a
strategist.
Yeah, a planner.
Yeah, playing the long game.
Right. And then it all comes to a head in Infinity War.
Infinity War, yeah. That's where things get serious. He's going after all the stones.
Then people get hurt.
People get hurt. And then there's that moment on Vormir. Where he sacrifices Gamora.
Gamora, his daughter. Yeah, to get the Soul Stone.
I mean, it's just...
Wow.
Would you make that choice?
I don't know. It's a big question, right?
It's a huge question.
To sacrifice someone you love.
For the greater good.
Yeah.
And the scary thing is, he actually succeeds.
He gets all the stones. Snaps his fingers.
Half of all life is gone.
Just like that. The blivy. 5 years.
Where half the universe just...
Doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
Wow.
I mean, it's just mind-blowing.
It's heavy.
And Thanos, he retreats to this place called the Garden.
The Garden.
Like he's done.
Like mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished,
right.
Yeah.
But of course, the Avengers.
Oh, yeah, they're not going to let that stand.
They have other plans.
Right.
They're going to try and fix this.
They want to bring everyone back.
Right. But Thanos, smart guy that he is,
Yeah.
he destroyed the stones.
No way.
Knew they were coming.
Yeah.
Didn't want them to undo what he did.
So what happens?
Big fight.
Big fight.
Thor, like, goes crazy.
Yeah. Fueled by vengeance and rage and...
Everything. Decapitates Thanos.
Oh, wow.
It's over, right?
Right.
5 years later,
Yeah.
time travel shenanigans.
Oh.
Thanos from 2014.
A different Thanos.
A different Thanos.
Okay.
Shows up.
This is where I get lost with the time travel stuff.
Yeah, it gets complicated.
Oh, so now there's 2 Thanoses.
Well, there was.
Yeah.
But this 2014 Thanos, he's seen the future.
Oh, no.
He knows what happens.
So he's even more determined.
Oh, yeah. He wants to wipe out everything.
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 And start over.
Start fresh. A blank slate.
Wow. This guy's...
He's intense.
Yeah, he's intense.
He's seen what happens, and he's like, nope, not doing that.
Right.
Gonna do it my way.
Wow. That's a lot to process.
Yeah.
It is, but that's Thanos for you.
Always got to make things complicated.
Always.
Well, on that note, we're going to take a break.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll dive into Thanos' philosophy
All right.
and see if there's anything to it besides just,
Right.
wiping out half the universe.
Exactly.
So stick around.
We'll be right back.
Okay, so last time we left off with Thanos winning, yeah. Snapping away half of all life. But is there actually something to his philosophy?
That's the big question.
Right. Besides all the,
Death and destruction.
yeah, genocide and all that.
Right.
Is there actually some logic there?
Yeah, I mean, it's...
It's scary to think about.
It is. It is scary to think about because as horrifying as it was...
Yeah.
What he did... I mean, the core argument, the idea that, if you just let things grow unchecked, everything's going to fall apart.
Okay.
It's kind of a... I don't know.
Disturbingly relevant.
Yeah, disturbingly relevant.
Especially today, right?
Like, you think about...
Well, I was going to say, like, climate change and resource depletion.
Right, like, we're seeing it...
On our own planet.
Yeah.
So it's not like this totally out there idea.
Crazy, sci-fi, far-fetched concept.
Right, and Thanos just takes it to this,
extreme
conclusion.
Yeah.
Like, the only way to save everything
is to kill.
Is to eliminate half of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I get stuck. Like, he's basically saying mass murder is the answer.
Right.
And that just seems...
like a big leap.
Yeah, a big leap.
Even for,
a purple alien.
Right, even for Thanos.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it so, I don't know, interesting to debate.
Right.
Because some people...
Yeah.
I mean, even today...
Seriously.
We'll say that...
Like, Thanos was right.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Like he was trying to save us, even if it meant killing us. Well, yeah.
I don't know about that.
It's a tough one.
It's a really tough one.
Because you can see both sides.
Right. Like, he clearly enjoys his power.
Oh, yeah. He's got that kind of...
swagger.
Yeah, swagger.
But then there are moments where he seems genuinely sad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like he doesn't want to do this, but he has to.
He thinks he has to.
Right.
For the greater good.
Wow. See, that's what I mean about...
complex character.
Yeah, he makes you think.
He does.
It's not just black and white.
No.
Good versus evil.
It's all gray.
Yeah, it's all gray.
And that's what makes him so interesting.
Right. And scary.
And scary, yeah.
Because it makes you wonder, what would I do in that situation?
Right, right. And it's not just, philosophy.
Like what?
Well, remember all that stuff about the snap?
The actual snap.
The snap, yeah.
With his fingers.
Could he actually do it?
Right. I thought that was just like a funny meme.
It started as a meme.
Okay.
But then people actually started...
No way.
Yeah, like scientists and stuff started studying it.
Like actually doing research.
Yeah. Could he physically snap his fingers?
With that giant metal gauntlet.
With the Infinity Gauntlet, yeah.
I mean, that seems kind of...
It sounds silly.
Yeah, but also kind of cool.
It is cool.
Like they're taking it seriously.
Yeah, thinking about the physics.
Right.
Like, could it actually work?
So what did they find out?
Well, one study concluded that, probably not.
Really? Why not?
Not enough friction between his fingers and the metal.
Oh, I see.
So he'd need a little help from the...
From the stones.
From the stones, yeah.
Makes sense.
To actually make it happen.
Right. It's amazing to me how...
How much people have...
oh, yeah.
Latched onto this.
Yeah, like it seeped into our culture.
Absolutely.
Everything from
scientific papers.
Right, to just, like, internet memes.
Memes, yeah.
I mean, remember the Thanos theory?
Thanos?
Thanos, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Like, that his butt had cosmic power.
Right, like there was another stone.
Hidden back there.
Oh, man.
It's so funny.
It's crazy.
But it shows you how, like, this character has just...
captured people's imaginations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, they're thinking about him.
In all sorts of ways.
Yeah, in all these weird,
wonderful ways.
Okay, so maybe we don't need to go down the Thanos rabbit hole.
Maybe not.
But let's get back to the multiverse for a sec.
Multiverse.
It's the Ravager Thanos.
No.
In What If?
Totally different story.
Totally different. Like, he's a good guy.
Basically, yeah.
Right.
He joins the Ravagers.
The Ravagers.
Space pirates.
So he's like a space pirate Robin Hood.
Pretty much.
Stealing from the rich.
Giving to the poor.
That's amazing.
Right. Like, what if the main Thanos had met someone
who could have, like...
talked him out of it?
Yeah, changed his mind.
Like maybe T'Challa Star-Lord.
Right.
Instead of...
regular Star-Lord.
Regular Star-Lord.
Things could have been so different.
Completely different.
The multiverse really makes you think... It does.
About all the possibility.
All the what-ifs.
Right, and how, like, even small changes can lead to...
huge differences.
Yeah, totally different outcomes.
And that's something the MCU is really exploring now.
Yeah.
The multiverse.
It's exciting.
It's exciting and a little mind-bending.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
But it's fun.
It's fun. It's fun, yeah.
So where do we go from here?
Well, I think the big question is, like, what do we actually take away?
From Thanos.
From Thanos, yeah.
Like, what's the message?
Wait, he's obviously a... powerful, complicated character.
Very complicated.
What does it all mean?
Right. I think, for me,
yes,
Thanos' story, even though it's brutal, it makes us ask some really hard questions. Like, what do we believe in?
Okay.
What are we willing to fight for? And what sacrifices are we willing to make?
For the greater good.
Yeah.
Wow. Those are some...
big questions.
Yeah, they are.
And there's not always easy answers. Right. And that's, I think...
part of the point.
Yeah, that's what makes them so...
compelling.
Compelling, yeah.
He forces us to really think.
Really think.
About ourselves, about the world.
Yeah, about our place in it all.
Exactly.
Wow. Deep thoughts.
Deep thoughts.
All thanks to Thanos.
Thanks, Thanos.
But we're not done yet.
No,
There's still more to unpack.
More to uncover.
We got to talk about the criticisms of Thanos.
Right, because not everyone loves him.
Yeah, and the lasting effects of his action.
The blip and all that.
Yeah, and how his story kind of continues.
To shape the MCU.
Right, even though he's gone.
Even though he's gone.
So, stick with us.
We'll be right back.
Okay, so we're back.
Back again.
For the final part of our Thanos deep dive.
The Mad Titan himself.
We've talked about his
philosophy.
Yeah, his crazy plan, the blip, the multiverse.
It's been a lot.
It has been a lot.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
We got to talk about the criticisms.
Right, because not everyone's a fan.
Yeah, he's a controversial figure, to say the least.
Definitely. I mean, some people argue that, like, in Endgame especially, the 2014 Thanos.
Right, the time travel one?
Yeah, that they kind of...
just messed him up.
Kind of went backwards, yeah.
Okay, how so?
Well, they felt like he lost some of the nuance.
Nuance, okay.
Like in Infinity War, he was so complex.
Right.
You could kind of understand him.
Yeah.
But in Endgame, he's just...
angry.
Yeah.
Like, wants to destroy everything.
Yeah, less tragic, more just like...
a bad guy.
Yeah, a generic bad guy.
Okay, I can see that.
I think so, too.
Like, he lost that...
that sense of purpose.
Yeah, that tragic purpose.
Yeah.
He just became, like...
a force of destruction.
Yeah.
And some people also criticize his plan in general.
Oh, really?
Even if he had good intentions.
Yeah.
Wiping out half of all life.
Doesn't really solve the problem.
Doesn't really solve anything, no.
It's just...
like...
delaying the inevitable.
Kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, and then there's the whole ethical thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, is it ever okay...
to kill that many people?
Even if it's random.
Right, right.
That's a big...
big question.
Yeah.
And there's really no easy answer.
No. I mean, it's something we're still debating today.
Absolutely.
Like, in our own world.
Yeah, like, how far is too far?
Right.
When it comes to, like, you know...
solving problems.
Yeah, saving the planet, whatever.
It's heavy stuff.
It is.
But it's important to talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's what Thanos does, right?
I think so.
It makes us confront these
uncomfortable truths.
Yeah.
About ourselves, about the world.
And speaking of uncomfortable truths.
Yeah.
We can't forget about the blip.
Oh, the blip. Yeah, that was
It had a huge impact.
massive impact.
Yeah, on the MCU.
I mean, imagine
Yeah.
losing half the population and then they come back.
5 years later?
Yeah, like how do you even...
How do you process that?
Yeah, the trauma,
The confusion.
the chaos.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And we see that playing out in the MCU.
With Joes.
Yeah, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The world's trying to figure out
What to do.
how to put things back together.
Yeah, it's like Thanos.
Just threw this giant wrench
Into everything.
yeah.
And it's all still spinning.
Still spinning.
Wow.
And, you know, it's created new heroes, new villains.
Oh, right.
The Flag Smashers, for example, they thought the world was better during the blip.
Really?
Yeah, they wanted to keep things that way.
Wow.
Even if it meant violence.
That's crazy.
And then you have Kang.
Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah, like, he's a whole other level of threat.
Right, like Thanos might have actually...
Unleashed something even worse.
Yeah, destabilized the whole multiverse.
It's possible.
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
So I guess the big question is,
Yeah.
what's Thanos' legacy?
His legacy, yeah.
I mean, he's gone,
He's dead.
but his impact...
Is still felt.
Yeah, everywhere.
It's like his shadow.
Hanging over everything.
Yeah, a reminder
Ba-boom.
of how fragile everything is.
Yeah, how easily it can all...
Fall apart.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the big takeaway from Thanos.
Okay.
He's a cautionary tale.
A cautionary tale, okay.
Yeah, about power,
Yeah.
about ambition, about...
Taking things too far.
Yeah, trying to fix things
Yeah.
in the wrong way.
But he also makes us ask these tough questions.
Yeah, like
About what we believe in.
what we're willing to fight for.
The sacrifices we're willing to make.
For the greater good.
Yeah, and who gets to decide
Exactly.
what that greater good even is?
It's a lot.
It's a lot to process.
That's important.
It is, and I think that's what makes this deep dive
Yeah.
so fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanos is more than just a villain.
He's a mirror.
A mirror, yeah.
Reflecting our own
Hopes and fears.
anxieties, desires.
Yeah, everything.
That's all there.
Wow. Well, on that note,
Yeah.
I think we've reached the end.
It's the end of our deep dive.
The end of our Thanos deep dive.
It's been a journey.
It has. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.
For another deep dive...